Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and the last 2 days have been an absolute nightmare for me. I'll get into that some more later, but first let's roll that D20 and see what soundtrack we're listening to. Whee! Okay. Doing the classics again, but if I roll the classics a third time, then I will choose my own. I'll choose from my own list, consisting of 2 choices. After that. We all know how that works, so let's go ahead and get into it. I think today I am going to be sharing a build with you that I am dubbing Critical Projectiles. I've already shown multiple times my variants on Power Projectiles. Critical Projectiles is something similar, but it tends to use multi-hit stuff that's a bit more controlling. So that will start, like any good critical build, with the Awe Robe. And then we're going to take the Analytical Monocle. Now I know what you're thinking. But Dark Sage, there's a relic that specifically increases the critical hit chance of projectiles. And there is. But it only does so by plus 6%, whereas the Analytical Monocle does it by plus 8%. So I think that is definitely the better choice. As far as which spells to take, Perforating Jet tends to be what a lot of people would think I would take when it comes to critical projectiles. And yes, that is an option, but it's not one that I particularly like. I would honestly say you're best off going with Fiery Yo-Yo, Stone Shot. I know a lot of people like Volt Disc, I just think it's not a strong choice for this. Aqua Arc is okay, and Chaos Crush is okay. For purposes of today's video, I'm going Fiery Yo-Yo. Your standard. Again, there's a lot of really good projectile options that work well. And since we're not looking for things that specifically count as projectiles necessarily, you could do things like, Snowflake Chakrams if you wanted to. Now, I personally think that Bouncing Bubble is about the best choice for that. But you could also use Astral Dissonance counts well enough. Chaotic Buster, you could even make that your signature. Mark of Discord is pretty good too. Null Parade I used to really like, but I think the problem with Null Parade is that it's just so slow to come out. I don't know, I'm not a fan of it. Not anymore anyway. But it does control a large area, so make of it what you will. Volt Pinball is a good choice. Shock Assault is more for melee projectiles, but hey, there's nothing saying you couldn't use it here. This is better for power projectiles, but again, it's good control. Dynamic Disarray, that's a really good one. Now, there aren't a lot of really good projectiles that are multi-hit. Razor Pedal counts, but one thing you have to remember with Razor Pedal, first of all, the first hit and the last hit are the ones that are the strongest. So you definitely got to be aiming for that. Pardon me. Secondly, as you can see, there's a blind spot with the spell, so you have to use it from a bit of a distance. And thirdly, it does end up dragging enemies back into you, so you have to really be careful with how you use it. See, Rock Solid Tomahawk is a good choice, so is Violent Thornstorm. Obsidian Cascade. Now, I'm not going to talk about that one, because real honestly, Obsidian Cascade is one of your better options for your signature. And I'll show you why. Remember, every hit does good damage, and once you've got signature, you've got 1,000 Blades. Come on. Let's see. Not a big fan of Magnetic Breakers for this build, but it does work. My problem is that Magnetic Breakers has a bad habit of having its range shortened for no reason. And as far as how it fares against bigger enemies, remember, they suffer less knockback, so Magnetic Breakers... I mean, it still scored 5 hits for 58, that's not terrible, but that's also by pushing them against a wall. So if we were to change that up... Let's attack from this direction. Huh, it's pretty consistent, actually. Make of it what you will, but I think Magnetic Breakers is probably not the best choice. And Deferred Dynamo is something that's better used to hit enemies and then drag them back into something more melee-based. So even though it counts as a projectile, I think there's better that you could do. Frost Scimitar, a similar thing, but it's so controlling that honestly, who cares? But for purposes of this video, I'm going to be using Obsidian Cascade as my signature, and I've already showed you why. Come on. And then, what do you use as your standard? Wind Sentry is a particularly good one, especially after it gets upgraded, just because of the control that it offers. Now, another good option would be something like, I already mentioned Dynamic Disarray. Spark Array is good for control. But one of the problems with Spark Array is that it is very dependent on that shock status effect in order to do good damage and control. So I think for purposes of this video, I'm going Dynamic Disarray. So we've got our build now. Well, for the most part, we could always choose a different dash. And usually with dashes, it's just up to personal preference. I personally, obviously I use Chaotic Rift a lot. But Wavefront is a particularly good shield and a great get-off-me option. Thunderline is a good defensive burst to keep enemies off your back. Entangling Vines can get the hell out of my video. Razor Burst is very much along the lines of Thunderline. If you're looking for something that strictly counts as a projectile, Flare Rush actually does a particularly decent job, and you can use it both offensively and defensively because the fireballs come out behind you. So it's a very good defensive option. But I think for purposes of this video, I'm going with Wavefront. And you can clearly see why. Now, if one happens to find Captain's Ring during the run, or if you want to use the multiple relics glitch, I say go for it. With this particular starting build, you can get quite a lot out of that. And I'm going to attempt to find the old retro floor plan because I just love it way too much. There we go. Last time I used it, I got destroyed. But that's because I was trying to combine retro floor plan with hard mode, and I got overwhelmed. Like, really badly. It was like not even a contest. Oh, I don't even see Zeal in this one. That's different. Alright, so now, as for what's been going on over the last couple of days. Easiest way to put it is, there were some awful days at work. Like, on my Discord, okay, that's interesting. I don't even know how I feel about that one. reason that I'm not a fan of elemental summoners. Okay, Cecil is just having a field day out here. Oh my goodness. My good bird boy just wants attention, that's all. Alright, that was a hell of a room. Alright, I am not doing well right now. Alright, well we can definitely upgrade Wavefront. Not sure about homing flares though. And I like the idea of Aqua Breaker, but I'm not 100% sure about it. Also, like homing flare, oh no, Aqua Breaker I'm just going to say no to, it's going to get resisted too hard. Alright, so back to what I was saying. So Sunday, it was a day where there were mechanical problems with what was happening, and things just were not working out well. Like, we're supposed to be able to get everything scanned in and be on the road by about roughly 9 o'clock. To give you an idea of how things worked on Sunday, I wasn't on the road until noon. So it was already a poor start to a day that was looking pretty iffy to begin with, but... Then it just ended up being that I had a huge load of packages, and that I had posted about on Discord. I'd even shared a photo. I was supposed to receive help, but because of how the day went, no help ever came. It just ended up being a long, difficult, kind of damaging day. It wasn't good for anyone. Okay, that room was also awful. I am just not playing well right now. Which seems to be an extension of the other day when I also wasn't playing well. I don't know, I think I'm starting to lose my touch. There's nothing there that I really want. Don't even really want these, but... Alright, so everything is coming up awful right now. think I am going to grab that, and I absolutely need that. Yeah, no. God, 422 damage is unprecedented. Should not be taking that kind of damage on the first floor. Like, I am taking into account that I have the retro floor plan on. Okay, that has unlimited range. Like, I've said before that I'm not the biggest fan of elemental enemies because they get essentially special rules in comparison to even the other enemies, but I particularly find the earth elemental enemies to be the most difficult to deal with. Alright, so I explained Sunday. Monday, what happened was so it's a Monday, and at the Postal Service, what that means is that mail from over the entire weekend is basically built up over the weekend, so that all has to go out at once on Monday. So that should give you a baseline as to how that's looking already. But then on top of that, I was asked to do a route that I've never done before, and to the route's credit, I actually really like the route. I have no issue with that. We'll take that. So the route was actually really cool. The route was fun. I like the route. But it was a route I've never done before with way more mail than usual. We definitely take that. I don't know if I want to take that or not. Like, there's a part of me that doesn't because I wasn't intending on having binary splashdown, but at the same time, it has been saving my ass, so... Hold on. Let's play this smart. Let's use the portal. Alright, there we go. It's looking a little better. I will take that. And I could start up something with the Hunter's Satchel. I don't know how well that'll work out, but... Or I could take Pazu's favorite hat. Yeah, I'm gonna take that just because I feel like I could use a defensive boost. And let me real quick. See, it almost looks like there should be another battle room, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I think what we have is connecting hallways. Nope, there is one more battle room. Alright, that's enough destroying random stuff. Let's hit the entrance portal and get back to the boss room. So, more mail not only means more time spent to get your route together, but also more time on the route itself. So, those two issues were compounding with the idea that it was my first time doing this route and I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going. And then that combined with the idea that after my lunch break I started feeling really super sick, which is why I'm not at work right now. To give you context, it is roughly 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I should be at work right now. But my stomach and my bowels had other plans. So hopefully that offers a bit of an explanation as to where I've been for the last couple of days. It hasn't been pleasant, but, you know, it is a thing. And now here I am today showing you a version of Critical Projectiles. Now, I've made reference to this build before, but it's one of those things that and like anything, there's enough variation on it that there's lots of different versions of this that one could put together. This just happens to be my version of it. At least one of them, but I mean, I had brought up Perforating Jet before, and there's nothing saying that you can't use that. Like, it's just another variation. It's not the variation that I prefer. And that's just because I find Perforating Jet to be, I mean, kind of iffy at the best of times. But it is a good option. It can score a lot of hits. There are things that it can do. I just don't think it does them, better than Fiery Yo-Yo or Stone Shot. As far as my thoughts on binary splashdown, keep in mind that did just... Okay, the game just decided that I didn't get to move there. Alright, so this is looking like a bust. That is specifically why I chose Pazu's favorite hat, because I had a feeling that something like that was coming. Now, one of the mistakes that I can tell you quite easily that I'm making is, instead of trying to get away from enemies, I'm trying to dodge through them. And surely you've been seeing that mistake as well. You probably didn't know that I knew that I was making that mistake. But yeah, I was just straight up dodging the wrong direction. Like, especially when you have the retro floor plan on, you really need to be careful about where you're going, because even though the enemies may have less HP, they do still have a leg up on you in numbers. And again, just because there's... Let's see, I'm going to grab that to give to Dr. Saul. Just because they have less HP doesn't mean their attacks are doing any less damage. Alright, I'm being stupid here. Take the portal. I'm also having kind of an iffy time when it comes to relics. Alright, well, some increased healing from all sources is really nice. And we will not be taking that. And I've said multiple times that the retro floor plan is very much a double-edged sword, and all the money that I've been spending on relics is the plus side. Now, the negative side you can see, and that is that the run is just that much more dangerous. You have to... There are times when you will have to make different decisions. Because it's not always as easy as it is when... as it is when you only have a few enemies bearing down on you. When you have an entire, like, Los Angeles gang of ghouls bearing down on you, and, you know, their entire modus operandi is trap you in a corner and beat you down, that can become a problem. So especially when you have the retro floor plan on, it's very good to have things that can control some space. In here. Alright, so... And that's part of why I kept Binary Splashdown. I mean, aside from just the idea that it's good to have a... Even when your game plan is one thing, it's good to have something from a different game plan to help give you options and maintain control. But it's also good to keep on your toes. Like that, I know that seems like Captain Obvious advice, but trust me when I say that knowing your fundamentals is important when you're trying to work with a particularly harrowing cursed relic. But like I said, it's my favorite one. Well, my favorite one of the ones that you can start with. I like how C99 added essentially 2 versions of this room so that you could get it more than once in a run. That's right, bird. Okay, so we definitely want this. Now, the reason why I find the robe upgrade to be so important when you're using the Awe robe is because, like, let's say you're doing a power build, you're only getting an extra 5%, like a flat 5% damage. Whereas that's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. It's just not that big of an increase. It's consistent, sure, and if you've got nothing else to spend your money on, or you... Ow. Okay, this room just destroyed me, holy shit. Oh, of course, the Hunter's Satchel option was actually the right option. Of course. Oh well, what can you do? I mean, aside from complain, because that's what I'm already doing. Now, don't get me wrong, things like the melting pot and the pie of 5 fruits, those are really good, but I think you get more bang for your buck out of the... Ow. Out of the retro floor plan, just from how much money you gain from just having it. There we go. Violent Thornstorm. I mean, that would have been good earlier. Now it's just a little sad. And again, I don't want to... Well, not again, but don't get me wrong, it's not a bad spell. It's just... Its peak usefulness would have been A, before I found Twin Turbines. Have I mentioned that the water-based archers are the worst things in the world? And that's it. I am I am starting to rethink all of my plans. It's possible that I'm not as good as at this game as I think I am, but that's it. I'm gonna I'm gonna reevaluate what I was thinking, because either this build isn't as good as I think it is, or I'm I don't know. I made too many mistakes. I don't know. I'm actually kind of mad about it, but whatever. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm gonna take some time to think about what I did wrong. Maybe I'll be back with another video later. There may be quite a bit of noise because apparently there's a fire alarm inspection that's going to be happening later today, and that's going to be a little noisy. So we'll see what happens. But if you like the content, then subscribe to the channel to see more in the future. As per usual, like, comment, subscribe, all the good YouTube stuff. Thank you guys very much for supporting my videos and spending your free time with me. Oh, one other thing. If you are liking my videos, share them with other people, because apparently the algorithm is tracking that more now than ever. And it's also just a good thing to do. Like, if you're really liking someone's content, share it with a friend. Maybe they'll really dig it. So, something to keep in mind, and I will catch you guys later. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I will be seeing you.